My guest with me today, I'm going to jump right into because I cannot wait for the unstoppable, the razor blue sharp eyes, the absolutely incredible lady killer, the smoking chiller. I don't know where I'm going. The absolute thriller, Jake Bulletproof Carrey. How are you doing, brother?
Doing good, Joey. Doing good, Joey. We're out here. We're living. It's a good day. 80 degrees, Virginia Beach. Loving it. Living it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are back. And you, quick tidbit before we get into the whole dance. You were officially back in restaurants yesterday. You managed Chick's Oyster Bar down in Virginia Beach. Go check it out. Absolutely wild time. And we are allowed to, at least down there, go back with some rules according. How's the first day back into kind of the new normal-ish at Chick's Oyster Bar?
Yeah, so Chick's was great. We had kind of our grand opening, phase 1, Virginia Beach. We had probably maybe 500 to 800 people in there. Not all at once, but throughout the day. Went pretty well. Tried to keep everybody about 6 feet apart. There's no bar service, but we have about 75 outdoor tables with about 100 feet of dock space. So we have boats that can pull up and get served on their boat. And it was a pretty successful day. Had to work out a couple kinks, but today's going to be a long day. It's a Saturday, so with nobody having work, I'm sure our dock will be full all day long.
I love it, baby. Love it. And the question I like to ask all my guests is, how the fuck do you know my obnoxious ass, Jake Carrey?
Well, I'm pretty sure that we met at ODU at some kind of a party or something or another. And hey, look,
or another like that during our binge drinking years, right?
Yeah, and
Those totally have stopped.
Yeah, I think we really bonded a lot when you were living at the one house with Chappa and some other people. And I think we were really getting close around, what was that, our junior and senior year? I think that's when we were
senior years respectively of college, yeah.
Yeah, and then, of course, being Redskins fans and loving drinking and having a good time, I think we kind of just bonded a lot. It's been a good, like, what, 8 years now, 7-8 years. I think I've known you. So,
yes, it's about 2012, 13 or so, 14, and yeah, buddy, it's one of the most genuine, kind people I know. Hell of a story. Definitely stolen a chick or two from me at a party, and that was going to be my opening question. As I have a couple of instances, but I felt a little too petty of doing that. As if I was going to go head to head with Jake, I think I'm 0-4, but we won't get into that.
It's the alcohol. I don't know.
Well, it's the alcohol. It's those goddamn blue eyes. If I haven't talked about them enough already, I'll get into them more, as well as the scars, which we'll get into a little bit. And the reason why you're here, in all seriousness, is we're joking around. But my opening question for you, more importantly, is I'm not going to do the petty thing of all the girls you have stolen from me, as I've already mentioned it. But instead, Jake, you've been trying cleansing wipes?
Cleansing wipes?
There's a TP out there, okay? And there's these things I found. Now, not to get too grotesque, because I can hear some listeners dropping as we go, as we will get into serious, and we will get into our free therapy session here in a moment. But there's been a TP shortage. So my tip has been to some people, simply cleansing wipes. What they are, there's certain brands, they have Wegmans brand, Real Simple. There's a thing called Dude Wipes. It's essentially like a Lysol wipe for your bum.
Yeah.
It's a nice scent afterwards. It clears it all out. It doesn't allow for dry butt or mud butt afterwards. Again, I apologize to any listeners that are a little grotesque right now. But
I know all about it. Oh, yeah.
I knew you fucking would. I know you.
I'm all about that.
If talking about free therapy and tips to get you through your day, a clean beehole is definitely the way.
Look, let me tell you something. When you're outside and you're running around all day, at a restaurant, you're moving around, things can get pretty dry down there. Cleansing wipes. Recommend it. Get some lotion. Something down there.
Dude Wipes. Sponsored with free therapy. You want to feel good? Dude, get your butt clean with Dude Wipes.
That's right.
Also, real promotion is, please, right now, before you get into this whole episode, at Four Corners Radio, go DM them to be under the umbrella that is Four Corners Radio, and that is our all-star team of course, not only free therapy, not only face of the franchise, not only hooping and hollering, not only five holers, not only last nice guys, not only degenerates are us, but of course bread and butter too, and the next show that can be featuring you. So please go DM at Four Corners Radio right now. But Carrey, I did have you here for a reason. As much as I do love talking about clean b-holes with you, and I think that's part of the reason we bonded is because I can talk about just ridiculous nonsense with you all day, kid. But I do want you here for a reason, man. And there's a moment in everyone's life, that we haven't really covered on this show. We've covered perseverance. We've maybe covered picking yourself back up after tough moments, but we've never really talked about that moment that everybody, I think, feels, especially in their adult life, of the "it's all over" moment. Maybe your crush rejected, you can't pay the gas bill this month. Whatever, you completely crashed your car while you're hammered, whatever the case may be. Everyone has that moment, and that often is the scariest moment, man, where you truly feel like you're buried alive. For lack of a better cliche right now. And I real quick before we get into, I think what you have probably one of the most harrowing, it's all over, life's almost all over moments, literally, and something that everybody can learn from and persevere from. I want to go over my moment because it's something that can really stop people, and the one that I always go back to that I have to learn from and remind myself from when I'm feeling lost, when I'm feeling like I'm completely fucked and Joe, what the hell, you're not going to get out of this bowl of rocks, is I was 18, Jake. This was before the ODU days, before we know each other, buddy. And I was a spoiled little kid out of Ashburn. I talked a little bit about this before. I was a spoiled little kid out of Ashburn, and I went to this private school, very expensive, called Randolph-Macon. And what happened at Randolph-Macon was essentially I fucked around and ended up getting suspended for car hopping at the time to get weed money. Just being very raw, very honest about the story. Okay. I was drunk. I thought it was a good idea. I think I had dropped all our weed at the time, and I was freaking out, so I was like, I need to go that way, right? And terrible drunk mindset. Anywho, got caught. We're not done yet. My parents go to pick me up after getting suspended. I then go with my buddy instead, who got suspended car hopping with me. Go all the way to a place called Newtown Beach, a very, very small town, and I lived with him for a couple months. For whatever, I think my parents right here wanted to teach me a lesson, give me all my savings that I worked towards for high school, and they basically stowed it away for me. And you know what? Fine. You want to learn how to fuck up? Let's watch you really fuck up. I think it was about $3,000, Jake Carrey. Blew it all in about 3 weeks on pot and movie tickets and eating out and stupid ass shit that an 18-year-old does. Not even good stuff like I couldn't go try to find a hooker at that age, like nothing. It was just stupid shit. And maybe that was the best idea. But with that being said, man,
I'm sure at the time it was a pretty good idea.
With that being said, the account goes all the way down to zero. The drugs wear off, so reality hits, and I go back to my parents thinking I'm going to be in that fucking basement for the rest of my goddamn life. Now, I had to pick myself up. I took a lot of time. I think I took a lot of time off of pot, which is something I have not done besides that moment in my adult life. Man, it was incredibly, incredibly difficult to pick myself out of that moment, and I felt like I never was. But I mean, I should have shut the fuck up and stopped being a little spoiled brat and kicked myself in the ass. And eventually I did and learned you can pick yourself back up off of any moment. And I think compared to what you learned, I think you learned the lesson the most difficult way, Jake. And if you just kind of want to get into the initial day, what happened, and give us all your story, buddy.
Yeah. So pretty much for me, I had one of those life-defining moments when I was 20 years old. It was 2011, the summer of 2011. And pretty much I lived in a house off campus at ODU where I met Joey. And so pretty much one night in the middle of the night, someone broke into my home. And when they broke in, it was a 4-bedroom house, but only 2 of us were living there because it was in the summer. 2 of my other roommates had gone home and they were coming back later on. Anyway, so we were asleep. It was about 3 a.m. Somebody broke in, and they immediately pretty much went to my roommate's room, as I think they were kind of going in there to scare him and threaten him to steal from him. And pretty much they ended up shooting him when they broke in. And that kind of had woken me up. And after they shot him, there was some more rustling around, and they ended up shooting him one more time and killing him upstairs. Now, at this point, I pretty much had woken up, and I was kind of moving around my room, walking towards my bedroom door. I did not have a gun at the time, and so I had grabbed like a small pocket knife, which wasn't really going to help, and started walking towards my door. And as I'm getting to my door, there was I thought I heard some movement, so I waited a second, and then as I opened my door, there was a figure that ran right past me out my front door. So from my bedroom door, pretty much, when you're looking out of it, to the right would be my front door, to the left would be a hallway, and in front of me is a staircase where my roommate was laying down as I opened the door. And so he wasn't moving, and so as I kind of walked out the door, I looked left and right, and the guy had left, and no one was there. And so I started calling out my roommate's name, and he hadn't said anything. And so as I got closer, all of a sudden it was just like a strobe light hit me in the face and gunshots. And then I woke up on the ground about 20 minutes later, realizing I just got shot. And I was in shock. I couldn't feel anything. I was looking around. I'm on the ground now.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, Jake. At what time? Where? So this is the first time you had been shot at this point. Where was this at this time?
So at this point, I'm not exactly sure where I had been shot. I think I had been. So pretty much, I was shot 5 times. Once in my neck, twice in my shoulder, once in my back, and once in my hand. And pretty much, I assume I was shot all at once. It's weird because the angle of trajectory of the bullets are in multiple directions. So I was either shot and spun as I was getting hit, and that's how it's multiple, or there was multiple shooters. It's kind of hard to tell, but pretty much it was a 22 millimeter bullet that hit me all 5 times. It was probably just from like a handgun. And luckily, because it was a 22, that's probably why I lived through it, because any bigger of a bullet would have hit some main arteries. Pretty much the bullet that hit me right in the neck went straight through my neck, and you have your carotid artery and your esophagus. If either one of those get hit, you're dead within 3 to 5 minutes, no matter what. The bullet went right in between both of them and missed both by 1 to 2 millimeters. And that's the only reason why I didn't bleed out right there. So that part was just insane.
Just to stop you, I'll let you go on in a minute, man. I mean, right there, that statement right there, man. I mean, you're meant to do something, buddy. And I mean, I will get into it more here in a little bit, but I mean, the reason I wanted to have you, and I'll let you finish the story in a moment on this show, is because I mean, how far you've come from this. But I'll anyway continue, buddy. Go ahead.
Yeah. So pretty much, I had awoken, and I realized now I am facing my bedroom door. Okay. And so I'm looking around, don't really see anybody. Try to get up. As I get up, I realize I can't feel my entire left arm. So I kind of assumed I had been shot in the arm. I was able to push myself up and stand up with my legs and my right arm. And I kind of ended up going into my bedroom, because the first thing I thought of was, let me get my phone, dial 911. Hit my door frame, and I fall into my room onto my bed and grab my phone. And as I get my phone, I try to dial 911, and the call got disconnected. I don't know why, but I dialed it again and just put the phone by my side as I'm holding on to it and start walking out of my bedroom. And as I get to my door of my bedroom, I pretty much hit my door frame again. and I see my roommate, and he hasn't moved since I was originally shot. And so I look right out my front door, and I pretty much stumble and hit my door frame of my front door. And I look out, and across the street, I see a house that I knew people at because it was kind of a busy area outside of ODU. I was like, man, I need to get over there. And I start stumbling down the front steps, and I'm stumbling across the street, and I'm somehow making it all the way across to the neighbor's house. And I start banging on the door. And as I'm banging on the door, I was about to yell, and nothing came out. I had no voice at all. I was I just kept banging and banging, and nobody ended up coming to the door. And so after about what I felt like was like 5 minutes, which was probably only about 30 seconds, I kind of gave up hope on anybody showing up. And so turned around, walked back out into the middle of the street, and I kind of just collapsed into the middle of the street. Started crying a lot because I didn't know if my roommate was ever going to make it, or, you know, what was going to happen with us. And out of nowhere, this old lady runs out of her house. Remember, this is like 3:30 in the morning. She had thought a car window had been broken into and looked out her window and saw me collapse in the street, only in my boxers, covered in blood. And she runs out. She's crying. She's like, what happened? What's going on? I couldn't say anything. She's like holding me. She's like, I'm calling the police. I kept trying to point to my house saying, go over there, go to my roommate. I'm alive. I don't know if he is. I don't care if I make it or not. It's all about him. Please go over there. But she just couldn't do it. She ended up, the police ended up showing up. They were asking me questions I couldn't really answer as they're kind of putting me on a stretcher and the ambulance is coming up. And all I could say was just get in the house and make sure he's okay. The police officer they're pretty much, I could whisper. There was just no vocal. Okay. So you could barely hear me if you put your ear right to my mouth. And so I told police officer, go into the house and help my friend. And he said, I'm sorry, son, but I have to take care of you because you're the only one that I know is alive right now. And so it was just one of those moments where I felt like I couldn't do anything. And that was worse than getting shot. Like being able to not help my friend when I didn't know if he was alive or not was like the worst thing I think I've ever felt. And so I pretty much remember the ride all the way to the hospital, getting into the hospital, and a doctor coming up and putting a face mask on me and saying, don't worry, you made it. And then I passed out and I woke up in the ICU. And about 2 hours later, after I had been knocked out on morphine again and re-woken back up, my dad had told me that my best friend was murdered. And till this day, we still have not had a conviction of the murderer or murderers. We found out that there was 3 people that had broken in and a driver, which means it was probably a planned event. And yeah, that's pretty much what happened.
So again, I mean, obviously, guys, this is incredibly just heartbreaking and disheartening story. And I mean, one thing I will say out of this, and we don't have to dive into the details of in terms of what the case is and what's been convicted and what hasn't, because as we discussed off air, man, I think there's a lot to that, political wise, unfortunately. But with that being said, you're meant to do great things, man. You survived those 5 bullets for a reason, and to live on your best friend's memory, and carry what he represented as well. And I mean, again, I think you've done that unlike anybody else I know. And again, we're gonna get to it soon, but I mean, this is one of the most genuine, kind, and more enthusiastic than I am sometimes. Hilarious, just good-hearted people, and to climb from that. I mean, anybody else that has anything that you're going through, I mean, just know you can kick your ass up and pick yourself back up and reform yourself again, like this man did. I mean, I can't imagine what those couple months were like after. if you want to touch on it for a moment, I mean, what was it like trying to pick yourself back up for the people that are struggling with that? Because I mean,
Yeah.
you did it like a Mestizo, a master, buddy. I mean, like, it was not easy. I imagine,
Yeah,
as
for
I'm
sure.
struggling to get this question out, buddy.
I would say the first year afterwards was pretty tough, almost every single day. So I would say, all right. So I guess some of the most tough things was for the first 10 days, I was not allowed to drink any water because my neck had been completely destroyed. And real quick, I'll just show you like a little footage of my neck. So there was some plastic surgery that was done to create.
And I'm sorry to interrupt. For our people listening on Apple Music and Spotify, you can check this out on YouTube. We'll post this in what he's showing us right now. Go ahead, Jake.
Yeah. So pretty much they did plastic surgery after they put me back up. You can almost see there's like a zigzag to my neck. Can you see that, Joey? I don't know if you can see the scar.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
That creates like a spring effect. So that way when I stretch and turn my neck, it doesn't make the scar wider. If you notice, my shoulder one is pretty wide. So that's because of the constant changing of my arm when I'm moving around. But because I'm normally wearing a shirt, it's not as bad, So pretty much, what I would say is that that was probably one of the toughest times, is not being able to, you really take for granted the quenching thirst of a sip of water. I mean, not having some water after a few hours, maybe all day long, it's really tough. But when you actually don't drink water for an entire week, that's when you really start kind of losing it a little bit. So the way I was fed water was through my nose in like a tube that had to go past my neck down through my esophagus, I guess, and pretty far down. And I could feel the water inside of me when they would inject it. But having it in your mouth and having the quenching thirst of a sip of water, I mean, that was one of the most incredible things when I finally was able to have the viscosity of a water go down my neck and be able to enjoy it was incredible. But
that's fucking sip of water of your life.
It was the best sip of water of my life. It was insane. And so I always like try to drink water and try to be healthy anyways. But that was pretty intense for the initial physical part. I would definitely say the mental part was the most tough part to overcome. I definitely went through a lot of bad thoughts. Pretty much for the first 30 days, almost every single night was a nightmare. And it was my friend dying in front of me over and over again. I mean, that was probably like the toughest part of it all. And I resorted to a lot of drug use to try to not think about it all, because I was thinking about it every single day. And pretty much like just resorted to a lot of drinking, and I was letting it out on my friends and family. My parents definitely took a lot of it because I had to stay at home with them. And I have the best parents in the world, by the way. They have given me everything. I can't believe that, their only son almost died from this and that they had to go through all this stuff. But we've definitely become a lot stronger. So
I've heard amazing stories. I have not had the pleasure to meet them quite yet. But
yeah, they're awesome. So pretty much went through physical therapy for a while on my shoulder and back. Then I pretty much had PTSD for about 2 years, pretty bad. I remember I was at a party at ODU, and it was a birthday party, and there was a bunch of balloons, and nobody really thought about it. But we're all partying, having a good time, getting kind of drunk.
I probably wasn't at the school at the time, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah, I don't think so. This was like almost right after I had been shot.
Okay.
And so I really wanted to get back to partying. So I went out to a party in a full neck brace, full sling. I mean, I was bandaged up, but I didn't care. I needed to get out of the house. I'd been going insane, sitting in my parents' house. And go out there, and we're at a party with balloons and stuff, and people just start popping balloons thinking it's funny. Well, after about the third or fourth balloon, I just completely lost it and started screaming at the top of my lungs to the party, "Stop popping the balloons, because you guys are making me feel right now that I'm getting shot again." And everybody just stopped, dead silent.
And it's not like a bunch of college kids are going to be particularly sensitive to this either, right? Or
Yeah.
have any. It's not like they're going to be like, even if they do know that this happened, it's not like they're going to have the sense to be like, this is triggering Jake. This is putting Jake back.
They had no idea. And the second they did, they respected me for sure, and it was okay. But like for that initial moment, it was kind of one of those eye-opening, like, oh my God, this is like really affecting me really bad. And I had to just let it out. I couldn't stand it. So I would say for about a year, I did pretty intensive physical therapy. And then for about 2 years, some PTSD was kind of the after effects. Kept working out. I've been working out a lot now. I try to work out as much as I can just to stay healthy, flexible, stretch a lot. Drink water, of course, as much as I can, just try to be like as healthy as possible. Of course, we all have our own tendencies, sometimes take a day off, eat a piece of cake, something good, you know what I mean? But
have our little cheat days. Absolutely, buddy. Absolutely. Feel like a fat whore. Have your IPAs with your cheeseburger and your pizza and your ice cream.
Yeah.
Nothing bad.
Oh yeah. Those are the best days.
Yeah, no, man, that you're exactly right. And I think, the way you just heard is the best example of who you are, Jake. I mean, you went from this story and ended on, but I love my cheat days. And you're like,
I love my cheat days.
Cheers to cheat days. And I already had your drink guest of the week, which is black coffee is what we're drinking here. I already had it earlier. Unlike alcoholic, we have, but it is like 11:30 in the morning when we're recording this, so we'll be somewhat responsible in the quarantine.
And I gotta work today, so I can't really be drinking.
But don't worry, we will be drinking together soon enough, buddy.
Yes, we will.
Hopefully at our Choppa's wedding, which is Choppa and Kendall's wedding, which are mutual friends, and how we met. But with getting off the rails there for a second, you literally just to a perfect tee put exactly how you got through your "it's all over" moment, and for you, honestly, it was quite literal, and how you carried yourself in that positive attitude you have now, man. It's genuine, and it's truly amazing, and I mean, let's just take you to a point of truly no return. Anybody else, there's plenty of people that would have gone the other direction, and I know you're damn near close to going that other direction, but you can't understate the willpower and the strength that it takes to not only pick himself up, guys, but he didn't get into this too much, but yes, he went back to school. He's 2-3 credits away from graduating now, Jake.
Yep.
He's managing one of the most popular bars in Virginia Beach, Chick's Oyster Bar. Has a realtor license, sold a couple of houses, bought his own house on his own, financially stable. Laser up mentioned several times as well. Dude is genuinely just a good-hearted, awesome person. Parents did an incredible job raising her. I think that's part of it too. But is literally that blue-eyed devil is the perfect that we're all staring at right now, or some are listening to right now, is the perfect example of it. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether it's again, the girl crushed you or the guy crushed you and said, no, it's never going to happen. It doesn't matter if you don't know where your next meal is coming from. It doesn't matter if you're not sure where you're going to sleep tonight. Yes, that situation is incredibly difficult. I don't want to belittle it by any means, but know that you do have that willpower. Every single person has that willpower inside of them to pick themselves back up and to get to that genuinely razor blue-eyed Jake Carrey that you all can be, or be your own true self. And yes, it's going to take, like Jake said, it took a lot of therapy, it took a lot of support from his parents. He didn't do it alone. He was able to channel a lot of that through working out with him, and I can test at least back in 2015, a couple times I worked out with him was absolute hell. But I also let myself go, I think, a little bit in college. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would think, one of the biggest life lessons I learned is that, there's so many parts about life that that you take for granted, and that, it's the little things that you really need to focus on. And, you can't, material possessions to me just have completely been put away. I mean, I love certain things, but you really just, I don't know. It's kind of, you take for granted so many things, and you look back, and when you're lying in a hospital bed, you can't move or do anything. It's your, I had my family there for me, and that was super important. And looking back now, like all my friends that had shown up, I had like 100 people that came to the hospital, family and friends, and like those are like the real big moments. And we're looking back now, you know, and it's funny because like there'll be like certain times. There was this one time I think at the restaurant, I had a server. She was working, and all of a sudden she had like broken a nail, and she said, "Oh my gosh, this is the worst day ever." And I was like, "Oh yeah, why don't you try getting shot 5 times and then we can talk about it?" And she was like, "Oh my gosh, Jake, you didn't have to take it that far." And I was like, "Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, I don't want to hear you complaining about your broken nail. I know you spent $100 on them nails, but dang, come on, you gotta just it's not your worst day ever."
That's exactly where I was going. No, that's perfect, buddy. Exactly. Just because you broke your fucking nails doesn't mean the world's all over, okay? Exactly.
Yeah.
Try to literally get shot 5 times, then maybe I'll hear about your fucking nails, lady. See if you complain about your fucking nails, lady.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's exactly it. So. I don't mean to belittle anybody's situation, what you're going through. But no, I mean, honestly, for lack of a better example, it's not as bad as getting shot 5 fucking times. So you can pick yourself up too. I mean,
yeah, I'm like, things can always be worse. Trust me. This isn't that bad.
And don't get it twisted. Like we're saying, it's not a road you ever do alone. Just like we're almost always saying on this podcast. I mean, something I say quite often, you don't go through this battle alone. This is called free therapy for a reason. Go get actual professional help if you feel like you need to get you through your scenario, whatever it may take. But you don't go through that road alone. But it is certainly possible. And it's not all over because you broke your nails or because your favorite restaurants out of margarita mix or whatever.
Yeah, and let me touch on that real quick too, because this is something I didn't get to talk to you about. So I did go through some kind of therapy afterwards. I did go to like a psychotherapist. My parents recommended it. They kept talking about it. This is back when I was still living with them before I'd moved out. After I'd moved back with them after I'd been shot, and so they went to this therapist, and we tried to talk about what had happened. And for me personally, I think that I get really into I'm really big into like social intelligence and how I feel about people learning from each other. And so like talking to someone was really nice. Talking to a therapist was really nice. And they try to say that they understand because they've read textbooks, they have a degree, they know all these things. But the thing is until you've ever been in that kind of a situation, you will never truly understand what it's like to be there. It is impossible. So the people who really gave me some really good therapy was my cousin, who was in Afghanistan and gotten blown up, and he still to this day pulls out shrapnel on the side of his body. He was someone I could really talk to and learn from because he had friends who died, who had gotten shot, who had gotten blown up. I talked to a lot of military people, police officers, like, what's it like? What'd you go through? And those are the people I really related to and who could understand kind of what I was going through, how they moved past it. The therapy thing was nice to hear from somebody who's extremely educated on, the mental, problems that can happen afterwards especially with PTSD. But talking to someone who's been through it, that's like the real therapy. So I always recommend if you're ever like down, if you're ever having a bad day and you're going through some really tough things in life, look for people to relate to or going through similar things and ask them, how did you get through this? I'm going through this right now and I need to know, what do I do to get to that next step? Because I just can't get there. There's this invisible barrier you'll never be able to get through. And sometimes it just takes time. Sometimes it just takes one word, that can get you through that next step to, trying to move your life forward.
I think that's well said, man. I think that's an excellent point you bring up too, because yes, while that scenario does work for a whole lot of people, getting that professional help, and it certainly can, and it's good to talk to somebody else. I think that sometimes that can be the most effective thing, and you hit the nail on the head, is talking to somebody that can actually go through it and can relate to you on that scenario on a whole level. It can be almost just as therapeutic, if not more, than actual professional therapy. So I mean, that's another very effective outlet to kind of get you over that hump, especially when you are in that, it's life's all over moment, right? That perpetual life's all over moment that you don't know how to dig yourself. Well, talk to somebody that actually dig themselves out of that scenario.
Yeah.
That's excellent point. So, I mean, I think we're cultivating some good things here, man. Number one, um, know that it's not as bad as getting shot 5 times, so pick yourself up.
For
Two,
sure.
two, um, make sure that you are not alone in this. Nobody can go alone in this. And three, make sure that you talk to, when you're not going alone through this, talk to somebody that's been through it. Talk to somebody that's been through it, and that can help you find that outlet, whether it's working out, whether it's just getting kind of that one word to kind of make you breathe that sigh of relief to get you over that high mountain, that incredibly high mountain. Because again,
yeah, you got to
go ahead.
talk about it too. Like, I think that's one thing that was really tough for me. The first time I told somebody my story, they asked me at a party, "Hey, what happened to you?" And I could not say it. I told them I had gotten bit by a shark, and they believed me. And that guy ended up walking over and talking to one of my friends who he didn't know was my friend, and was like, "Man, that guy got bit by a shark." And he was like, "What? No, he didn't. He got shot 5 times." And the guy was like, "Oh, why didn't he say the truth?" And it's because I couldn't talk about it. I didn't want to talk about it. It took me like 100 times before I could seriously talk about the story, not completely break down, and be able to give the full story to someone. And it's just that repetition of just talking about it, bringing awareness to issues like that can sometimes push you through that next step.
I mean, again, dude, incredibly well said, buddy. I mean, I really appreciate you having the courage to come on this show. I mean, and for you keeping it together, I think I lost a little bit more than you did during the story, man. And I mean, I really do appreciate it, because I mean, I think it's important for everyone to kind of hear that, and especially in this time right now where we're kind of all having that perpetual, it feels like life's kind of over moment, right? Where we're stuck at home, we're constantly anxious and fearful. There's news stories every single day, and we don't really know exactly what is next. So I think that it's more important now than ever to have you on the show and talk about exactly that. To remember, just to talk to others, to remind yourself what you're going through, to know that you're not alone in this scenario, and that, again, if you just find that positive outlet and you take in a healthy route, you won't go down that disastrous road that truly will make that life over. And it can be very, and I talk about this all the time, going on that 2-road split. And it's exactly how you channel yourself and who you talk to and the outlets you choose to get you down that positive road, versus down right back to the gutter and life is truly over. I mean, so I think well spoken, and really told everything that I think people needed to hear today, man. I mean, is there anything else you want to add in terms of kind of how you stay in this healthy mindset, and kind of what you do day by day and where you are now?
Yeah, I would just say that, like, always trying to look forward and not always thinking about the past, but to learn from it. It's a good reminder on how you can improve in your life, but it's not the definition of your life. So
I think a good phrase I had, sorry to interject, is don't look at the past, but don't stare.
Exactly. And for me, I was very unhealthy after everything happened. I drank a lot. I ate a lot of food. I was overweight. I was smoking cigarettes consistently. I was very unhealthy because I did not care about my life at all.
Yeah.
And slowly I just realized that, I can be healthy. And so I started working out. Eventually, a girl, of course, convinced me to stop smoking cigarettes. So I stopped doing that, and that was awesome. Haven't smoked a cigarette now in about 5 years. And
do I know this girl?
You do. We'll keep that.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. I know who we're talking
between
about.
us.
I know who we're talking about. It's good.
Yeah, you do know her. But it was a good time, and yeah, and so pretty much what I would say is, there's always somebody worse off than you. There's always people going through some stuff, and you got to realize that like we're all just trying to get this together. I just try to stay positive. I think I'm a pretty positive person, always looking at like the better thing of, I'm always the glass half full kind of person. And that's, really just stay positive, work hard, and make it happen. That's like my motto.
And nice, sweet and simple, man. I mean, I think that's really it. Is one, I always say, keep it simple, stupid. That's one of my favorite military cliches. And excuse me. Not only that, dude. I mean, you're exactly right. It's just in the time right now. You keep that positive mindset. You stay optimistic, even when it seems absolutely impossible. Just remember, everybody's grinding and going through this, and probably been through something worse than you have, and it's not all over. Find a way to make yourself, keep it simple, and find a way to just find your outlet and make yourself productive. It's that simple. And when you pick yourself up from that, if I can talk here today, your life is almost over moment. It's that simple, dude. It's that simple. Breaking down those walls. Have your army of support around you. Keep that optimism. You guys can fucking do it, especially right now. Remember, when there's a scenario that seems it's all fucking over and life's going to end, there's people that have been through worse moments that have picked themselves up and somehow can be more positive, energetic, and optimistic than my ass sometimes. That's why I love you, Jake Carrey. That's why I want this friendship to last a lifetime, my friend. I don't know how to do it. My hat truly off to you, buddy. And it's been an incredible ride to know you, and pleasure to continue to know you. Jesus, got a little cramp here in my leg as I'm sitting down. But yeah, I mean, it's been an absolute pleasure, buddy, and I'm continuing to see where this ride goes. But yeah, man, thank you for coming on today. And with that being said, of course, go DM right now at the Four Corners Radio to be part of the great umbrella that is Free Therapy, that is Face of the Franchise, that is Five Holers, that is Bread and Butter, that is Last Nice Guys, that is Hooping and Hollering, that is Degenerates Are Us. And I know my mindset went all over the rails there at the end, but my cultivation is simply this, to put it all together in a nice bow. Remember, when that life's all over moment is looming at the door, you got people by you, pick yourself up, dust yourself off. At least you haven't been shot 5 times. It could be much, much worse. We all can't be bulletproof Jake Carrey, but we all got that willpower in us, baby. We all got that willpower in us. Stay strong. Find your outlets. We can do this, baby. We can do this all together. That's really it. Free Therapy is coming out to you again next week. Besides that, Jake, thank you for coming on. It was absolutely awesome having you on, buddy. I really genuinely appreciate it. We out. Let's see. Stay on, Jake.